Okay, my name is Ed Bryans. I'm from Troy, New Hampshire. I am dealing with the Cheshire County Family Court system. I'm going through a divorce. I have not seen my daughter for close to a year and a half. Let me back up, tell a little history of my story. My wife and I were married for 3 years. I had 2 children from a previous relationship. My wife had a son. We became a family of 3 people, her son and my 2 children. She became pregnant on our honeymoon, so we had a little baby girl that linked the entire family together. Now we were all related. It was a beautiful blessing. The marriage went okay for a couple of years. I spent a lot of time working. My wife spent a lot of time with my best man. Long and short of it, a relationship developed between her and who was my best man. And discovering that, it was, do we divorce, do we work on the marriage? We decided to work on the marriage. We had 2 reconciliations. They did not go well. Currently, my wife lives with my best man. December of 2010, she filed divorce. At that time, we mutually agreed. We shared time. I had my daughter basically 4 days of the week, our shared child. Actually, in December, she showed up to my office unexpectedly. I had asked her about getting the kids together for Christmas, something that would be normal for them. I'd asked her if she was still working on a relationship. She said that she needed time for herself. I questioned her about it. I had caught her before by looking at her cellular phone. When I saw her phone sitting there, I picked it up to look at the text messages. That sent her into a rage. She violently attacked me. I basically let myself be taken to the ground by her. I knew I didn't want to raise a hand to her. I laid on the ground with her foot planted in my face, my mouth, my eye, black eye, bloody face. One of my neighbors came over. "What are you guys doing here? This needs to stop." She left. I wanted to tell my office neighbor that this would never happen again. I said I will put a no trespass order on her. When I went up to the police department asked me, "What happened to you?" I told them the whole story. They ended up arresting my wife for assault and battery. They gave me a referral to the Monadnock Center for Violence Prevention, as a victim of domestic violence. When I went to that domestic violence center, they turned me away. I made multiple phone calls to them. They turned me away. What they did instead was take the aggressor by the hand, walked her into the courthouse. She filed a ex parte motion claiming that I was a flight risk, that I was going to grab my daughter and flee the state. This was one of those secret hearings. Didn't even know anything about it. In fact, the day it happened, April 29th, my daughter's birthday is April 30th. I dropped her off to daycare with the promise of a birthday cake, presents, and her friends. I got a yay daddy. When I returned at 4 o'clock, the daycare staff stopped me in the hall and said, "Come in our office." They handed me a faxed ex parte motion telling me that I could not see my daughter. It was a horrible thing for the court system to not even notify me, but to put it in the hands of this innocent third party of the daycare center. I was devastated. It did give me a date 4 days later that I could come into the court to respond to that. My daughter was taken on a Thursday. On a Monday, I went to court. I received a guardian ad litem report on Saturday outlining 8 pages of just bogus, ridiculous allegations. that no person in their right mind could prepare in one day to answer to that type of allegation. On Monday in the courthouse, I told the guardian ad litem, or told the judge with the guardian ad litem and the ex-wife there, that this entire report was fabricated, that I asked for a full evidentiary hearing. The judge at that time, in writing, promised that I would have a full evidentiary hearing within 30 days. I am now a year and a half later, and I still have not had that hearing. There's been 4 administrative continuances in my case. The last one being April 9th. That was after waiting for 6 months for the most recent hearing. I had my mother fly here from California, had witnesses come from Vermont, several hours away. 15 minutes before the hearing, the judge called in sick. I got a call from the court clerk. The judge had called in sick. Just to fast forward a little bit, I just stopped to the courthouse 2 days ago to pick up some paperwork I needed copies of. And I said, hey, are you guys ever going to reschedule my hearing? The clerk handed me a piece of paper that showed that my court case is now on August 6th. It was dated April 27th. Apparently they weren't going to mail it to me. So thank goodness I asked about it. So now I have 2 weeks to prepare again. This is the 4th administrative delay that they've put into this. The original judge in the case, John Arnold, is currently been recommended for impeachment investigation. The word to me was that he was retiring. They then assigned me a marital master. The marital master, I received a letter that I had the opportunity to ask him to recuse himself, that he had a previous relationship with my ex's attorney. The letter that I received in the mail, I had 10 days, I believe, to respond to it. I received the letter 2 days after the response date. That didn't stop me from wanting to pursue it further, except the court clerk said if I asked for the judge to recuse himself, that would add another 6 to 8 months to my case. I just wanted to see my daughter. I didn't want to wait 6 to 8 months. I would take chances with somebody that has a previous relationship. The guardian ad litem report is 8 pages of just complete nonsense. The entire guardian ad litem program, at least in New Hampshire, you're asked to provide 3 references or three people that she can contact. She's never contacted any of them. She's written numerous things in her report that have been very easily proven wrong. I've put in motions. The most recent motion that I put in was in November, claiming that she had said that my wife had tested negative for drugs, but in her own guardian ad litem notes, she had tested positive. So she had given a false report to the judge, claiming that she tested clean, when in reality she had tested dirty. When I brought that up, the judge gave me a half-hour hearing. I filed a motion for restoration of unsupervised visits. The judge did say it had been entirely too long since I'd seen my daughter. It had been about 8.5 months. He recommended I do supervised visitation for 6 visits. On the second visit with my daughter, she came in, my daughter didn't want to leave Dad. When they said, you have 5 minutes, your visit's up, my daughter said, I want to stay with Daddy, I don't want to go with Mommy. And I got on my knees and told her Daddy would see her next week. Mommy was waiting. I tried to reason with my little girl. The ARC Center staff, which is staffed through Monadnock Family Services, grabbed my daughter, said, we don't have time for this, physically dragged her from the room, kicking and screaming, calling for Dad. A second woman entered the room, joined in, dragging my daughter out of the room. I sat there knowing that if I reacted, certainly it would be my fault. They put her behind a closed door where I could hear her screaming, maybe for 5 minutes. I went over to the door and turned the doorknob. They have a security officer there that rushed at me, asked me, what do you think you're doing? Blah, 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 so on and so forth. Long and short of it, I get a call 2 hours later. My supervised visits are terminated due to my blatant disregard for their rules and regulations. All the visits there are videotaped. In the guardian ad litem report to the court, it says that my daughter ran from the room screaming for daddy. Why would she run away from me screaming for daddy? I was right there. I said, no, she was dragged from the room screaming for daddy. For 4.5 months, I wrote letters to the CEO of Monadnock Family Services saying, please, let's sit down and view the video. If I did something inappropriate, I'd like to reason with you and we'll fix this. It was only after I followed the money trail, Monadnock Family Services, partially funded by United Way, called the CEO at United Way, used his name. Monadnock Family Services called me back the next day, said, we've let the coordinator at the ARC Center go. We're going to reinstate your visits, and you can come and watch the video. 2 days later, I came in to watch the video, and lo and behold, it had been deleted. They no longer had it. So my evidence was gone. I did get my visits back after I completed 4 more, according to the judge's orders. For the last few months now, I've had my daughter 6 hours a week. I get my daughter 6 hours a week, unsupervised. I love my time with my daughter. We just climbed Mount Monadnock last week. I focus 100% on my daughter for that 6 hours. Nothing else in the world matters. I'm able to have a taste of my daughter back in my life. My daughter goes back to a household with the mother, with a man that was just arrested recently for transporting cocaine and guns across the state line. He has a lengthy domestic violence record. I'm well aware of that because this man, who was not only my best man, was my sister's boyfriend for 10 years. He threw her down a flight of stairs, held a gun to her head, terrorized my niece. In visiting with my daughter, when I've asked her to pick up her toys or something, she got upset one time and said, I want mommy. I said, sweetie, this is daddy's time. You'll see mommy later. She told me, you're not my daddy. Keith is my daddy. This is the ex's boyfriend. So I'm dealing with some very sinister things that I do not have much confidence in the family court system at this point. They haven't listened to anything I've tried to tell them. I've been labeled as a person that disparages my ex in front of my daughter. I have never said anything negative about my ex in front of my daughter. I have posted some negative things about my ex on Facebook, which they've printed out and used that against me, saying, see, he's an alienator. My response to that is my daughter's 2 years old. She doesn't read. Can I cut for now, Bill, for a moment? Sorry. Just drained.